Hello and welcome to this week's Network 1901 live show. It's Josh here, and I'm super excited to sit down, chat with you guys about the Walt Disney World parks. Well, the Disney parks in general. Although the thing that I had brought up, which you can find in the link down below from Walt Disney World News today, is a maintenance list of all the things wrong with Walt Disney World, and it is a lofty list. It's me and Groot here. I'm just having some water as I go along. Feeling kind of dry. But how is everybody doing? I hope everybody's having a great week, great weekend, heading into the new work week. I hope that everybody checked out last week's wartime video. I really had a lot of fun putting that together. And this week we've got a Star Wars video from Shannon talking about The Last Jedi. So, lots of cool stuff coming up. Super excited about that. Alex, Peter, Jenny, Pretty Girl, hello everyone. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate that you're here, hanging out, and I wanted to really talk this week about the Disney parks because I haven't really talked about the parks a lot lately. We've been talking more animation and film. I want to get back to talking the parks, even though myself and Angie are no longer living near Disneyland. I still feel like I'm pretty connected to the parks, and that's like my origin as far as my connection to Disney. So I wanted to talk about what's going on. Jenny, yes, you should be super excited about that Last Jedi video. Hank Gavin Show, welcome back. I appreciate everyone hanging out with me. So this past week, WDWNT.com or WDW News Today dropped a maintenance list that I'm going to assume they are going to keep up with, an ongoing checklist of all of the things that don't work or are in disrepair at Walt Disney World. There are two things in particular that really struck me about this report. One is that, of course, the oldest thing and one of the things that is on our front thumbnail there is the Yeti from Everest. You can see Everest in the background. It's been over a decade since the Yeti within that attraction stopped working. It's still not working. A lot of people call it Disco Yeti. Anybody who's ridden Expedition Everest, and I think Alex has said that before that she's ridden Expedition Everest when it worked and then when it didn't work. And it's a very different experience. And I'm not fortunate enough to have ever ridden it while it worked. But one of the things that they've said is that if they were going to repair it, they'd have to close down the entire ride, refurbish the entire ride, and structurally change the ride, which I think should happen. It does need to happen. But the other thing on the list that was actually pretty worrisome is that Toy Story Land, which opened just a few months ago, has a lot of chips in its decor, in its seating, in its tables. The Slinky Dog roller coaster, none of the actual Slinky Dogs have their tails. Some of the coils in between cars are still not painted or haven't been completely worked on, so they're covered up. It's a big mess. And so the question kind of comes, you know, does Disney stop working on new things to be able to work on some of the things that they want to work on or should work on to repair? And like, this isn't stuff that's like, well, these attractions are going to go away, so we'll just let them sit and rot until we eventually find a reason for them. The Twilight Zone Tower of Terror is on that list. It's a Small World is on that list. You've got, of course, all of Toy Story Land on that list. Expedition Everest is on that list. You've got so many other things. The Rock and Roller Coaster is on that list. Attractions that people love going on and just aren't up to date. So I wanted to know, what's going on. Hans, welcome to the chat. I didn't say that. Jenny says, is this in Disneyland or Walt Disney World, the Yeti one? I remember riding one like that when I was at Disneyland in 2008. So at Disneyland, they have the Matterhorn bobsleds, which is at the actual Disneyland park. In Walt Disney World, which is a much tamer ride to the Walt Disney World's Expedition Everest park. In fact, the Matterhorn at Disneyland and Space Mountain at Walt Disney World share a similar track style. But talk about the Matterhorn. They just got done refurbing that for like over 6 months that attraction was down. Um, but Disneyland has their problems too. They have a ton of things. The last time that I was there back in September, that needed repairs. And as they're adding to the parks, they're not really maintaining the things that people still love and that people go to the parks for. For example, in the submarine voyage, Finding Nemo submarine voyage, there is a ton of stuff that is supposed to be screens. Um, and obviously, like an on-off switch, you can turn off the screens. Although during operations, those screens should be on. However, there were a lot of black spots where there was audio that you could hear, but you couldn't see what you were actually supposed to see out of the porthole. And so, that being said, again, a very popular ride, the Finding Nemo submarine voyage, is not the experience that it should be. And so, I'm kind of bringing it to you guys. Do you guys think that Disney should stop? Like, of course, they have Galaxy's Edge opening this year, and they've got a couple other things in the works, like Mickey's Runaway Railway. They've also got the Marvel Land coming up and other things. But do you think that it would be best if they slowed down building new things or new areas, new attractions, new restaurants, and started to maintain some of the older stuff that they want to keep? Because, like I said, they're not going to get rid of the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. They're not going to get rid of It's a Small World. They're not going to get rid of Peter Pan's Flight or things like that. They're going to keep those attractions, and they need to be maintained. You know, Angie says, and also Angie, welcome to the chat. I didn't say that before. You're like in the other room, so good job. That would pull you right out of the magic and immersion. Yeah, I felt that on the submarine voyage last time we wrote it. Overjoyed, which is Brittany, also welcome. I definitely think they need to focus on cleaning up what's already in the parks. And Peter said, yeah, deferred maintenance kills the magic. 100% agree. I would advise anyone to go check out like the link below to the article. You can see some of the pictures. Stuff that literally opened at Toy Story Land like 6 months ago. Chipped paint everywhere. Chip paint on trash cans, on lunch tables, on like decor and ambiance around the park, on the Slinky Dog roller coaster itself. And like this is stuff that should be maintained consistently. I noticed that as well in Cars Land when we were there last time. They had a couple of places, like little orange cones on the ground that were chipped paint. Like that seems to happen a lot, and you would think that they would have somebody on staff consistently keeping up with that. Alex, is anyone else noticing this at the resorts? I feel like guests would complain about the resorts more. I haven't personally. When I was last at Disneyland and walking through some of the resorts, I know that the Grand Californian has a whole maintenance thing going on right now. They've got a whole refurbishment going on. And Disneyland hotel seems pretty clean to me, although maybe a little messy, but that's just like, somebody not sweeping and whatnot, right? But yeah, Angie said people will still go, but will start complaining about the price of the ticket in the parks. Might start losing their reputation. Ryder, Ray, welcome. First time catching the live show. Welcome. Thank you for hanging out. Jenny said, wow, sounds like Disney needs to get it together. They do. They need, truthfully, 2 staffs. Like if they're going to keep building new stuff, they need to have a staff for that, a section of Imagineering specifically for that, and then they have a maintenance staff that is consistently looking at attractions. Somebody pointed out too in the list that the Olaf animatronic in the Frozen Ever After ride, Epcot, again, a very new ride, a very popular ride. It doesn't match up. The mouth doesn't match up with the audio, so it almost looks like a dubbed Japanese cartoon, and no one wants that. No one enjoys that. One of the other things is that one of the screens in the Three Caballeros attraction is totally off. It's just a black screen, and that just again takes you out of the immersion completely. Chad said, "Did you see that Simpsons episode that joked about Disney buying Fox when they said Disney's already opening a new Family Guy world?" I did not see that, but I haven't watched The Simpsons in a very long time. I'm not really a Family Guy watcher either. Bob's Burgers is like the only adult animated show that I watch. Sorry, guys. Um, yeah, pretty cool, man. That's sad and disappointing. I would not expect that from Disney. I think it's more important to ensure quality than deadlines. And here's the thing to me is that I don't mind some trash on the ground or some leaves. They're like their sweeping staff is phenomenal. They will find ways to pick up trash on the ground very quickly. But things like just chip paint, um, animatronics that just are kind of not working, screens that have gone dark, that kind of stuff should be maintained more often. And I know, one of their goals, I'm sure, if I was to ask somebody, is that they want as many attractions open as possible because they want families who are going for that once in a lifetime opportunity to go to Disneyland or Walt Disney World or any of the Disney parks to be able to ride those attractions that are most valuable to them. So Peter Pan's Flight, It's a Small World, all of the classics like that, but all of the newer e-ticket attractions, they want to keep as many of them as open as possible. However, and I get that, Disney, and I get that you have a lot of long lines, and if you close one ride down, the lines only disperse. And that the eventual goal, hopefully for them, is that they open enough attractions in enough areas to where the lines will go down considerably and they can close a few things and it'll be fine. But I do think um, that it would be best to close one thing at a time for a period of 2 weeks rather than waiting to have to eventually close them for 6 months. So to fix one little thing in an attraction overnight or over a couple of days versus having to completely uplift audio animatronics out of the attraction, send them to a shop, have them repaired, get them back into place, spruce up everything. That takes so much more time. So I would rather have them close. Let's just say my vacation is a 7-day vacation at Walt Disney World, and Pirates of the Caribbean is closed 2 days out of that vacation. If I'm smart enough, I will go to their website and see the maintenance list that they have, the refurbishment list that they post there, and say, okay, I don't want to go to Magic Kingdom on those days. Pirates is one of my favorite attractions. So let's pick, instead of going Monday and Tuesday, let's go Wednesday when Pirates is open, right? That would make most sense. Alex said, also interesting, I already pointed this out to Josh, but the cruise, they keep those ships in like perfect shape, again, because they have smaller space. And one of the other things that we did talk about is that because every different park has different people in charge, the cruise ship has its own president, Disneyland has its own president, Disney World, all of the parks around the world do, and they make decisions depending on what they need for that park. And so even though the cruise ship might be in fantastic shape, the parks at Walt Disney World may not be. And our friend Rob plays in that exact same chat that we were talking about. In fact, we were talking about it on Discord. And if you want to join our server, you can at patreon.com/network1901. It's my only cheap plug for it. So if you want to join, it's $3 to join Patreon, and then you get access to our Discord. But yeah, we were talking about how Rob would actually, the next time he goes to Florida, is going to spend more time on the ships and less time at Walt Disney World because he just felt the experience to be cleaner, nicer, brighter, more wonderful, Swedish Eskimo said Disneyland simply is not budgeted to repair its attractions. The focus is on the short-term profit and not the long-term quality of the resort. I actually would disagree with that. I think they do have it within their budget. They're getting enough money in. The problem is that they can't. Disneyland's whole ordeal right now, Disney World also to a certain degree, is that they can't close too many things down at one time to be able to repair them. The problem is they've allowed so many things to go neglected that now they're having to close things like the Matterhorn for a longer period of time, and also trying to figure out how to revamp attractions to have better queue lines and things. So Disneyland has a whole different situation because they're trying to repair uh, an older park as well. That's just my personal opinion, but I do think there's enough time and budget involved. But instead of taking something like let's fix whatever over here, let's demolish Bugs Land and build a Marvel Land, which I again is great. I love that Marvel Land is coming. I love that Star Wars themed land is coming. But then you've got all these other attractions that just need a little bit more love and time. So, was it worth it to knock over all of Bugs Land and get rid of 4 or 5 attractions and to let all these other repairs, so things like that. Just Caleb says impressions to France, and I said impression. You said impressions of France. I said impressions de France because I know some French. And China are in very poor shape. They need major updating. Yeah, again, some of the things that need updating are a lot of the video stuff every few years. If you're going to have shows that require videos like that, I think they need to be updated more frequently than they are. I don't even know when the China video was last updated. I want to say the 1990s at this point. Um, so that's a thing. Um, yeah, sounds like what the Swedish says. Sounds like what they're doing in Fantasyland. Think Dumbo and Matterhorn, plus the additional enhancements to Alice and Pan. Um, yeah, uh, Alice Alice and Pan has had great enhancements. In fact, Alice in Wonderland has become my favorite dark ride at Disneyland because of it. Um, I just wish certain things would work better. And so before enhancing things, maybe we could just bring things up to date or take something that's not up to date and say, okay, we're going to close it and enhance it. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Caleb says, if I had to guess, Impressions to France is probably going to eventually be replaced by the Ratatouille ride. Yeah, and so uh, again, for me, I don't think that saving and changing up Impressions to France only to eventually replace it is good business, right? They're just putting money into something that's only going to be around for another few months or even a year or whatever the case might be. But something like the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror that does have things that need to be repaired, the Slinky Dog roller coaster that's brand new that needs to be repaired and have things added to it, those kinds of things need to be worked on and at least prioritized over an Impressions to France, if they have an eventual plan for that attraction. Um, Raider Ray says, I think they have it in their budget. If they've let so much stuff go down, that budgeting might be less an issue than staff. Yeah, and I think that's more or less the problem is staffing and trying to figure out who works where. You've got all of these people constructing Galaxy's Edge, but across the park at Hollywood Studios, you've got the Rock and Roller Coaster and the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror that need some fixes. And so, yeah, just trying to figure out where staffing should go and who needs to be going where. Like, instead of paying out a bunch of money for this job, maybe we need to give a little bit of budgeting towards the maintenance department and the maintenance crew so that they can work on those pieces. Um, just my thoughts here. Yeah. Swedish Estimate says, with your example of Bugs Land, I would say they are looking to use the space more effectively. Galaxy's Edge demands more capacity, and Marvel will draw people out of the pathways. That's true. I mean, like, I'm not knocking them for building these things, and that Bugs Land was not a great land, or wasn't really a great land. The attractions. Most people would rather line up in a 60-minute queue at Soarin' than in a 5-minute queue for anything in Bugs Land. But I'm just, the basic idea is that they're getting rid of so many attractions to build new attractions in its place instead of maintaining what's there. It's just, to me, it made sense. To me, it just made sense. Skylar, welcome to the show. I appreciate you here. But is there anything that anybody else has seen? I know some of you are closer to the parks than others. Like Keith is in the chat. He lives in Burbank, so he goes to the parks quite quite frequently. Is there anything that you guys have seen recently that was like, oh, that took away the magic for me? Like, oh, that needed to be fixed, and I wish that I didn't see that. When I was actually on Frozen Ever After, the only time that I've ridden that ride, because I will not wait in line for it, is that the Elsa, like her arms were just kind of everywhere, and yeah, so Elsa was kind of not looking good. She was more like a Woody doll than an actual human. Keith, would you like to give out any more personal information? I can give out probably enough to blackmail you. Um, by the way, Keith used to be my co-host for Modern Mouse Radio, and then he left me. But he has a job at Disney, so it makes sense that he would leave me. But he's also a jerk. Just kidding. Actually, he's a really cool guy. Caleb said, "Yes, I completely Frozen. The projection faces didn't work. That is frightening to see like some of those characters that don't have the projections on them. Ugh. Like a whole body with just like no face. That's not good. Like a head with no face. Um, yeah. Oh yeah. Alex said, "I love your silhouette art, Keith." Yeah. Do check out Keith's artwork. Keith, if you'll leave like the Instagram at whatever your handle is. That'd be great. Everybody should check out his artwork. Fantastic silhouettes all around the Disney parks. So it fits into what we're doing here. Swedish said, "I think an attraction that has always needed consistent maintenance is Space Mountain. It hasn't undergone a heavy refurb since back in 2005. Yeah, yeah, I would agree that some of the things that are in there, if you've ever seen it with the lights on, I've been kind of fortunate enough to ride the train as it went by with the lights on, not looking great in there. And I think they're just like, well, we can turn the lights out, so it's fine. But they should fix some things for sure. Everybody's saying hi to Skylar. That's so nice of everyone. I appreciate that. And Keith is handsome. And yes, I do have a better looking co-host these days. Angie is a good looking person, and I have to say that because her dad is here and she's here. But I would say that anyways. Angie said, "Hot take, I would rather go to a fully functioning park running at 100% than get new stuff as often as we do." True. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would love a park that just feels as magical as the first time I feel like I went. You know, that's what I want. Problem is that D23 refurb announcements won't get cheers. No, they will not at all. Oh, and Angie's mom is also here. So her mom and dad are here, and she's here, so I cannot badmouth her at all. Yeah. So, Angie said, "I just hope that all the new stuff they are working on now, they take a breather and reassess." I hope so as well. Oh yeah, if they announce the Yeti will be fixed, that announcement would be huge, huge. Swedish Eskimo says, "Do you believe that Tomorrowland should receive an overhaul that utilizes the existing show buildings and attractions in Tomorrowland, or go all the way with a complete reconstruction?" I don't see why they can't use the same kind of buildings. They've used them for so many other things. I wouldn't expect them to bulldoze everything, and I would expect still, if they close down Tomorrowland at Disneyland, I would expect them to use, if that's what we're talking about, to still have the back area of Finding Nemo and the monorail and Space Mountain open, and then everything like Star Tours, Buzz Lightyear, Starcade, all those spaces to be closed. So again, that whole area maybe not the old Carousel of Progress building. They might close that too. I don't know. They might do it in like halvesies, you know, so that they can still get people to go on Space Mountain. I would assume they wouldn't block off Space Mountain. That's really all I'm saying. Mission Space retheme. Uh, could they? Yes. Should they right now? What else does Epcot? I feel like Epcot needs a lot of work in um, in the front of the park in Future World, and so I don't know if Mission Space would be the first thing that I would change up necessarily. And Caleb, yes, it is too bad that the Tomorrowland movie tanked because Tomorrowland, the way that they had it, if they built that, that would be amazing. Um, I've also always thought that like I forget the name of the planet that they're on in the original Guardians of the Galaxy when they kind of all meet and they have those like kind of clear walkways. If they built that in Tomorrowland, I think that's what Tomorrowland should look like. Um, the mission space, I don't think is a priority as much as using like the old life building that has been sat dormant for who knows how long. I mean, you know, animatronics are going missing out of it. Poor wonders of life. And then you've also got the Imagination Pavilion, which I would assume most people would agree needs to have something at least in the Honey I Shrunk the Kids theater. You could also put something in the Circle of Life theater in the Land Pavilion that's just sitting dormant. There's a lot of stuff over in Future World that I wouldn't touch um, Mission Space first, but it would be something that I would get to eventually. The food at the Land Building is really really good though. Yeah, Living with the Land is one of my favorite attractions at all of Walt Disney World. It's super super geeky of me to say that, but it's true. I love Living with the Land. Um, the restaurant that's in there, fine, but they have that whole upstairs with the Circle of Life theater that's just not getting used. So, and Caleb, yes, Epcot is my fave park at Disney World as well. In fact, behind Disneyland, Epcot would be my second favorite park. So, um, bring back Food Rocks. Yes, I would love that. The Land Pavilion. We should just do a whole show on the Land Pavilion sometime because the Land Pavilion is a place that needs help, but could be really cool, could be really interesting with the right theme, maybe the right franchise. If you want to tie it to a franchise, I'm not sure. I never feel like the Circle of Life, like Lion King tie-in, was ever really a good fit personally. But anyways, before I get going, we've had kind of 30 minutes of fun here. Any other questions or other thoughts, other ideas that you want to bring to the table here about refurbishments or anything else? I hope that you guys checked out our our video this past week about the wartime eras. I put a lot of heart and soul into my favorite era, some of my favorite films in all of Disney history, and also make sure to check out some of the other stuff we've got going on. Again, this coming week, we've got a video from Shannon about The Last Jedi. She's going to be talking about Rose and Finn and what it means to save what you love. It's actually a really great video. I've already seen it. I put the artwork together for it. So make sure to check that out. I really appreciate that. And Podcast 1901, if you're not listening to our podcast feed, you should. I believe the link to that is also down below. So Podcast 1901 comes out tomorrow. Wednesday will be a brand new Modern Mouse Radio, the first one of the year. So I'm super stoked about that. Swedish Eskimo said, I hope both Future World and Disneyland Tomorrowland start to move toward more hard science and optimism than science fiction. At least one of them should, right? At least one of them should not be space age-y themed. I personally believe if you're going to make one of them more hard science, I would do Future World, and Tomorrowland can be more fantastical. But Future World, I feel like the kind of 80s, 90s idea of what Future World was is a good way of thinking about things. You know, Mission Space, even though it's a space kind of thing, a science fiction-y kind of thing, it is rooted slightly in hard science and, you know, things from NASA. It's things like what they did to Test Track, taking it from, hey, here's how we test cars, to, hey, here's a light show, you know, and build your own random pink giant wheeled weird buggy and see if it does better at this than other ones. It doesn't make sense to me why they changed the direction of that. Someone refurb the electric umbrella, please. I don't. Does anybody even eat at the electric umbrella? I feel like nobody should eat it at the electric umbrella. If you go to Epcot, eat at electric umbrella. Um, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So, Alex, I'm gonna say no to that one. Um, Scout said, I honestly love Discoveryland at Disneyland Paris. You just came back from Disneyland Paris. Thanks for rubbing that in. Appreciate that. But yes, Discoveryland, that kind of idea. The same with the land that they've got over at Disney Sea. That's very Jules Verne like. I wouldn't mind that for sure. So hyped for Shannon's vid. You're gonna. I mean, you should be. You should be super hyped. We haven't talked a lot of Star Wars on the channel recently, so Shannon gets her chance to geek out about Star Wars. Um, yeah, but thank you. I'm gonna pull the plug here. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time and your consistency on showing up on Sunday nights and hanging out with me. I know there's other things going on sometimes on Sundays. Thank you guys so much. A lot of you, Ray, thank you for the first time showing up for the first time, and so many other people hanging out. We keep growing and keep adding things. So make sure to like this video, subscribe if you've not subscribed to the channel. We always do these every Sunday night. It's either myself, Shannon, or Angie. I've been here a lot lately, so hopefully it's the two ladies that take over for me next week. Yeah, Sunday nights, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, every week. Come check us out. We'll have a new discussion next week. Maybe some trivia next week. Who knows? We're trying to bring more and more trivia into the mix, and hopefully you guys love that. But yeah, until next time, thank you guys. Appreciate it. The Skyway. Yeah. Bring back the Skyway. More people. If you're talking about Disneyland, I'd rather have the people move it than the Skyway. Anyways, thank you guys so much. Have a good night. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys really, really soon. Keep on moving, people. Yeah, just keep on moving.